The cost of IT in business can be staggering. From hardware and software expenses to services like internet and phone, you don't need to spend a fortune on IT to succeed. If your organization spends more than $500 monthly on any service, or you're considering signing a long-term contract, IT Enabled can help you manage your technology and minimize your costs. Contact us today to schedule a free consultation. IT Enabled, we're here to help.
Hi, I'm Tara Watson-Watkins, President and CEO of the Lufkin, Angelina County Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to the Connect podcast, connecting business to the community. I'm here today with my co-host, Blake Pollino with BP Media Group.
So this week, we're excited to have Mark Durand back on the podcast to talk about workforce solutions and this crazy employment market that we have going on right now. He shares some tips for employers and employees alike, and just gives us some updates on what's going on in that market and some exciting things coming out in the future.
Well, we are excited to welcome back Mark Durand with Workforce Solutions. I think you were on here about a year ago, we were thinking.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so welcome
exciting.
back.
Yes, ma'am. So.
Well, why don't you let's give an overview again of what Workforce Solutions does, and then we'll kind of get into the nitty gritty.
Yes, ma'am. It's always great to be here. You know, the way the Chamber supports Workforce Solutions is and promotes us is thank you. Just want to start out saying that.
Thank you for what y'all do.
Yes, ma'am. So, but Workforce Solutions, DP's Texas, covers 12 counties. Angelina County being our largest county is our board office, but we have 6 workforce centers that are located here in Angelina, Nacogdoches, Shelby County, which is up in center, Jasper County, Polk County and Livingston, and also Houston County and Crockett. And we help people find careers. We're really kind of retooling. Going back instead of jobs is how we find careers and helping individuals that need retraining, trying to fill the middle skills gap, looking at that, and also help individuals that need childcare assistance. And so those are the main things that we're doing at the workforce side. And since the pandemic, we've seen a lot of changes that are happening. And some of the things that we see in our labor market trends and the challenges that we're facing, and some of the things that we've talked about, it's really a job seeker market right now. Our employers are having a challenge of finding those individuals to fill those openings.
That's the truth. I'm one of those that's having it, know.
Yeah.
So if you're a marketing director out there, the Chamber needs you. Let me do a shameless plug.
Yeah. I heard you say that a while ago.
Let's talk about the labor market challenge. I mean, you've got a shortage of workers, but you've got so many people out there that want jobs.
Okay,
so where's the balance here?
Well, what we're seeing is looking at our unemployment data is just for our 12 county region. We're at the end of December, we were at 5.8%. But when I look at the city of Lufkin, it's even lower, it's 5.1. Angelina County is 5.4. But that's not the true data or the true, I guess, the number, because when you look at it is our labor force is actually shrinking. Because when we look at from the December of 2020 to December of 2021, here in Angelina County, our labor force has shrunk about 1,500. And in our 12 counties, we've had about 4,000. So that means less workers out there. Down there. So when you look at the number of your labor force compared to the number that's employed, that's where you get some of your data. And right now, as you mentioned, is the employers. We do what we call a jobs now, and those are hot jobs. Those are jobs that are posted each week. And each Monday, I get a report. Yesterday, we had over 90 jobs that were posted last week. And of course, this is within our 12 counties. So how are we filling those positions? And so one of the things that we're really looking at is we always want to help people find new jobs. Get those employers that are looking for new people to fill that. But then looking at our employers is really focusing on how they can maybe take some of their entry-level workers or even their middle-skill workers and advance them to the next level. And so really that's kind of one of the things myself and my staff and the board is looked at is how do we get that person to the next level so that they do get that career. A lot of entry-level jobs out there that are very good. You hear on the radio about some of the things such as Amazon and the other organizations, retail jobs that are increasing their wages. And so it's just more competitive for those employers as they go from there. And then also, when you look, is a lot of people want to work virtual. They got used to it during the pandemic. And so what we're looking at is how do we maybe take someone that's in an entry-level position for an employer, and that employer feels that person could advance their skill set. is how do we help that employer get from there? And so we looked at apprenticeship programs. We partnered, you had Mr. Caesar, Joe Caesar with Legacy at one of your Friday luncheons, and we partnered with Joe with the IT expansion grant.
Right.
And so he's training individuals that have information technology skills and getting them to the next levels. You start out maybe at a help desk, and then you can get up to programming. One of the big things now is our cybersecurity with all the hacking and different things, especially with the Russia-Ukraine issue. And so getting those individuals and learning that skill set so that they can meet the needs, and every employer has computers. And so looking at apprenticeship programs. The other thing that we really have focused on is what we call incumbent workers. And so those are workers that are already currently employed with that employer, and how do we get them to that next level? And so through the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, WIOA, is we can help those individuals go to school, get additional training. For instance, healthcare, big shortage. And so if you have someone that maybe licensed vocational nursing and maybe the hospital needs surgical tech, how can we help them going to school at Angelina College and paying that tuition to get them to that surgical tech so that we can keep those cases here at home and help our hospitals in meeting those needs. So that's our incumbent worker. And the good thing about this is there's some opportunities that, a lot of times people think with our programs you have to be eligible, but here is you just have to be, 18 years of age, eligible to work in the United States. Also, if you're a male registered with selective service, and so you meet those criteria, then you're able to work part-time and also go to school, then we can help you increase those skill set, which then benefits the employer and also your families in finding that new career.
I just think that all that you do with Workforce Solutions is amazing. When I first came to the Chamber 4 years ago, I really didn't know what Workforce Solutions was. I thought, well, is it a temp agency? And then you and I started visiting, and I thought, my gosh, this is just an amazing opportunity for our area and to be able to help people better themselves professionally and personally.
Well,
y'all do some great stuff.
Yeah. Well, the Chamber, the partnership that we've developed, in April I'll be here 5 years, and we came about the same time, and just the promotion that there, I can never say thank you enough again as I started out. But going back is one of the things we're looking at also is internships. We send individuals to training, so we have people that go to school for vocational nursing, registered nursing, different programs like that, and they require their clinicals. Well, if you go to school, you're not paid. A lot of our trainees have families.
Right.
And so they still got to pay bills.
That's right.
And so I've got my staff, and we're partnering with Angelina College going to a healthcare looking at registered apprenticeship program, so that possibility that we can pay for those individuals when they're in clinicals, so that they can continue to go to school, continue to work, and also benefit their families. And so those are some of those apprenticeship programs that we're really looking at. And one of the Department of Labor has allocated $5 million for registered apprenticeship programs. Also for such as healthcare, there's another $10 million. So there's lots of funding out there to help our employers, and that's where we really, changed our mindset of not just finding a job, but also finding a career, so that they can be, self-sufficient, support themselves and their family from that side. So that's, one of the things that we're really focusing as we address our challenges and the shortages of workforce.
Yeah. So how can, just maybe some practical tips, if you're an employer like us, like a lot of us right now, who are trying to fill roles and trying to find talented help, do you have any practical tips for people who are doing that outside of reaching out to you guys for help? That's obviously number one, but any practical tips for what we can do and how we can make that a better process?
I think from our employers, and we've really developed some relationships now with our economic developer here in Lufkin, Bob Sanford, and then over in Nacogdoches and with Larissa. But we've got Mr. Hopkins in Jasper, Mr. Gentry, and Nancy Wyndham. We've really developed some relationships where we can work with the employers of doing wage analysis.
Okay.
Because there's some, as we mentioned at the beginning, Amazon. I heard on the radio the other day where they're increasing their wages to $15 an hour.
Gosh.
And, you look at some of the other ones like, your retails are $12 or more an hour. And I think, and I keep going back to Amazon, but it even mentioned that their frontline workers, they're going to pay tuition for them.
Wow.
So how do our employers get competitive and know what their competitors are paying? So Workforce Solutions can actually do wage analysis for you. What the jobs that you currently have, what you're paying, what's the market rate for those, so that you can recruit those individuals there. So that's one of the big things is utilizing our services. Okay. The other thing is that I'm a big proponent it's not all about the money. We got to pay bills and things like that. But again, it's setting that culture.
That's right.
Putting the culture to making sure that an employee wants to stay there. And that's where, here in our Deep East Texas areas, we have so many people that commute back and forth and drive outside of our workforce area and things. And so providing that culture and making sure that the individuals that are graduating from high school, graduating from college, know that there's good jobs here. There's good paying jobs. And what we can offer, but then once they go to work for you is the atmosphere that you have, is setting that culture so that they want to stay with you. And so that's some of the things that we really try to talk with our employers about now. It's kind of the changing in those areas.
It's so important, and I think culture gets so often overlooked with companies and businesses. I remember before going into business for myself, I was working at a company that I absolutely loved. The culture was great. I loved the people I worked for. I loved the leadership that I was working under. The schedule was great. The perks were great. Just such a good culture. And I remember constantly saying I was turning down job offers from other companies that maybe were even paying more because I had such a great culture, and I'd always said I would never leave that because of how great that culture was. And then something shifted, and I watched that culture change. Like I watched that leadership change, and I watched that culture start to go away. And then all of a sudden, these job offers that I was getting on LinkedIn from the companies were a lot more appealing. I was opening a lot more of these messages because that culture had changed. And I think it would definitely behoove people to, if you're a small business owner or you're someone who's looking to hire, to look at that culture, right? To look at what you're offering, because we're starting to see a generational change. And I think a lot of these employees, as they're looking for jobs and starting to try to hire, where it's not necessarily always about the money, and the money is important to be sure. But I think people are starting to shy away from the. I remember when I was coming out of school, it was like you go get this job where they would tell you, well, we're going to pay you a lot of money, but there was this kind of unspoken. You work on Saturdays, but you don't officially have to work on Saturdays. But there was this unspoken rule that if you didn't show up on Saturday to work, then don't come in on Sunday because you're not going to have a job anymore. And, I think that's kind of starting to die off. I know the culture, people care a lot more about the work-life balance, right? They want to have a good life outside of work, and maybe not kill themselves in the process of doing that.
I think COVID had a lot to do with that.
Oh, absolutely.
I think people got used to being able to work from home. They got used to family time. I think a lot of us got recentered where we needed to be, and our priorities shifted, and we realized that we didn't have to be busy 24 hours a day, that it was okay to set down the computers and to turn things off and to have family times and to play board games. And then it was time to come back to work, and then we were like, whoa, what do you mean I have to do this many hours? So let's talk about those people that are still working virtually, especially now with gas prices just going skyrocketing. Because I know that people are starting to ask, can I work from home 2 days a week and come into the office 3 days a week? Are you seeing that at all with people that you work with yet?
A lot of our office jobs, we're seeing those. But with us, as we look at our industries that we have, manufacturing, healthcare. Retail, our three largest, and really it's you
got to be in person for those.
It's hard to work from home if you're
not. That's right.
It's hard to work from home.
I had heard about the nursing shortage, but my mom recently had a total hip replacement, and it wasn't until I was immersed in, sitting in the hospital with her for multiple days that I really understood the nursing shortage, the traveling nurses that were there, and she'd have a nurse come in and she'd say, I'd like to get up. And they're like, oh, well, we're not trained in fall precautions. You're going to have to wait until your nurse comes back on shift to be able to do that. So it wasn't until I was faced with it that I really realized how bad the shortage was.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
And coming out of the healthcare prior to coming in Workforce Solutions, it's we did a lot of advertising, but until you need it,
that's right.
You don't
pay attention to it.
That's
right.
Look at it. But once you need
that's
it,
right.
then one of the most valuable assets we have. So,
That's right.
One of the Blake, going back to kind of your question, and Tara, with as a chamber, is one of the things we really look at is branding. Is branding your organization, and I think that we're so here manufacturing wood products and different things like that, and they brand so well. But as you mentioned, the smaller employers, how do you get your name out there?
Yeah.
And I think with Workforce Solutions, some of the opportunities that we've got coming up in getting into school districts, working with our community college, working with SFA, is getting that information. We've got a program, and Tara and I have talked about it, and she's even helped promote it again.
I was just about to lead into it. So good job, Mark. It's awesome.
The teacher externship.
Yes,
and,
it is incredible.
Yes, and we just got this will be the second year. And it's already got off to a successful start. But this is where we match career technology education teachers, CTE teachers, with businesses.
Love that.
And in our first year, we had 19 teachers that participated. This year, our goal is to have 30 teachers. And what we do is we match them for a week with an employer. And so we identify the teachers, and we want to put, if it's a manufacturing teacher or welding, we want to put them with a manufacturing business. And if it's a healthcare industry and a health science teacher, put them with that. We don't want to put IT with manufacturing or something. And so, but day one is we go in and they just meet their employer. We talk about goals and objectives, and then go day 2, 3, and 4, Tuesday through Thursday, is they actually go to that business and get a hands-on experience. And they're able to talk to HR managers. They're able to see what that business does on a daily basis, what kind of employees that they're looking for. And then on Friday, we come back together and we talk about our learnings. What are the needs of that employer? What are you going to take back in your school district? And our teachers develop a curriculum that they have to teach in their school, in their classroom, to those students. And so also, it was such a benefit last year. We made some connections of some of our ISDs of clinicals, like at CHI and Woodland Heights, and with Hudson ISD, that they had partnered together. But still, this was another way to just kind of bridge some gaps. But they were able to develop that partnership. But now those students are able to know what jobs are available. What does CHI want? What does Woodland Heights? What type of employees do they want? What's their rate of pays and different things like that. And so they can get that information at that high school level, get 2 to 4 years of CTE training, then maybe go to our community college here and get 2 years, and then they're a registered nurse or whatever type of health science career, and then able to find a job right here in Lufkin.
That's right.
Which what we want to do is keep our people here. And so it's Representative Ashby attended last year, and I talked to my board chair Wayne Haglin, and just came away with just the information that we learned from our employers. And so we're doing that again this year.
That's great.
We're going to have a little...
and you do it during the summer.
We do it in the summer. It's going to be June the 13th through the 17th this year on there. And we do it here and bring all of our teachers and try to get our representatives and our chambers and everyone there. But we had... I think we're probably going to have a waiting list. Our goal was to have 30.
Fantastic.
That's great.
So, that's fantastic.
Yes,
this was so eye-opening. I got to go and be there on that first day, and when y'all were talking and introducing everybody, and to be a part of that, and then I couldn't be there the last day. I was out of town, but got kind of the follow-up emails from y'all. And just to know that our local teachers are getting to find out exactly what is needed for this area, and
huge.
go back and to be able to educate our kids and to say, here's what you can do, because they're the ones that see what those kids have the potential of being. And to be able to encourage them and to mold them, this is a phenomenal opportunity. So if you're a teacher out there, contact Workforce Solutions and get on that wait list for this. It's fantastic.
That's great. And you're catching these students who are your next workforce, who they're making the decisions that will lead into what their career is ultimately going to be, or what their next job is going to be. So, man, what a great and awesome program. I'm glad that's showing success. So what's coming up? Like, what's on the future? Are we going back to some job fairs maybe coming up, or what do you have coming up?
Well, one of the things that I'm excited about is we call it, with government lingo, a long name, Workforce Career Education Outreach Specialist. But,
that is a long name.
That's a long name. So, but we have we hired a gentleman, and we're fixing to add a second person, but it's where he's going in and working with students that are 6th through 12th grades.
That's great.
And, in our 12 counties, we have 53 ISDs. And so one person, we started out with having 10 partnerships. We did increase it up to 12. And so adding a second person, we want to even expand that. But he goes in and talks about those demand occupations, what jobs are available, what salaries, does a program called Texas Reality, where you look at what your expenses are, your budget, and then what kind of job you need to pay those bills. But one of the things we incorporated is called virtual reality headsets, and called VR headsets. And this is where you put in, because all our students do gaming, a lot of them, and they put the headsets on. They have the paddles on their hands, and they're able to go in and actually do some of the jobs. So, for instance, auto mechanic. How do you change the oil in a car? And so through these virtual reality, you're actually doing it. And so if you're making mistakes, it shows you what you're doing, but it gives you kind of a real life experience of what's the day of a mechanic from there. We have them all the way from, health careers to manufacturing. So we're excited about where those virtual headsets are going to go. And we're going to do that to our school districts, but we're also going to reach out to some of our other partners, probation offices, the summer schools, different things like that, so that we can make sure that some of those students that may have barriers are not going to go to college. How do we meet their needs? So in our job fairs, that's one of the things. We'll have a little sections, sectioned off so that we can provide that to those students. And then at our teacher externship, we want to let the employers also utilize it, so they'll get an opportunity to see what we're doing. But job fair is, we got our biggest one of the year coming up. And again, it's our job fairs are dependent upon our partners. And when you got a partner like the Angelina Lufkin Chamber of Commerce that helps us bring in businesses, and then it makes it a whole lot easier for us. And so April the 28th will be our mega job fair. Be at the Pitcher Garrison Center. Tara and her team are helping promote it. But we've already started taking applications, or actually having employers signing up for it. We did a job fair since the pandemic. It's been very low turnout on our job seekers. And so what we're doing is partnering with our chambers, economic developers, and we did one in Nacogdoches about a month ago. And it's the biggest one yet since the pandemic.
Good. I'm glad. It's time.
It is time.
It's time.
We had over 30 employers, but we had over 100 job seekers.
That's great.
That showed up. And really what we're emphasizing to our job seekers is when you come to these job fairs, come prepared to be hired, to be interviewed, to put applications in.
That's right.
Because these employers are needing people right away.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Yesterday. And so we have seen some that have been hired on the spot.
That's great.
And so that's, we're looking forward to the one in April that we're going to emphasize again to our job seekers. And, come, if you're looking for an office job, come dress for an office job.
That's right.
If you're looking for, transportation, dress for the job, so that those employers, because that first perception is such a key to that.
It's so important.
Yes, ma'am. And, the other thing is, from, like you mentioned, from the employer side, when you're short of workers, a lot of times you're having to fill those gaps.
Yeah.
Is like in a fast food service, if you don't have someone waiting in the front, the manager's doing it. So a lot of times they don't have time to attend a 4-hour job fair.
Right.
So what we've incorporated is what we call reverse job fairs. And we did our first one over in Woodville, Tyler County. We had our LVNs that were graduating. So we had them set up their resumes, their portfolios, and then we reached out to the healthcare industry, and those employers attended the job fair. So it was actually kind of reversed. The job seeker was on the other side of the table. The employer was able to come in, get resumes, talk to those LVNs, take it back to their office, and then instead of spending 4 hours, if they needed, if it was 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, whatever time they had, they were able to get that and take it back. And it was very successful.
That's great.
And so that's our plan as we move forward for our employers, because we want to make sure that, that we utilize their time and that they're able to get good qualified candidates. And plus your job seekers that are there, they're looking for jobs.
That's right.
They're from that side. So that's a couple of things we're doing on the job fair side.
I love that. Well,
It's
awesome.
it's a busy time at Workforce Solutions.
It
It
is.
is busy time. So okay.
There are jobs to be had. Awesome. Well, that's great. Well, is there anything else that people need to know about Workforce Solutions, or anything else our listeners need to know about?
Well, I'd like to, one plug is we have service industry recovery.
Okay.
And these are funds for parents that work in the service industry field. Okay. And that's basically food service, retail, entertainment. For example, it goes by and employers, and you'll know, is called NACIS codes. And it's when you turn in your organization. But if your code fits into that, then your employees may be eligible for free childcare for up to 1 year.
Interesting.
Because we know these are industries that were hit very hard with the pandemic. A lot of them closed, went down to 25% in occupancy. Just like the country club that we did here at Crown Colony, those employees qualify. But we got funding to provide support to those families. But it's a 1 year, so we have to have those children enrolled by March 31st of 2022 to get that 12 months, which will go until March of 2023.
That's great.
So if you're interested in that, they need to apply by March the 26th, because we got to do the application and get all that. But we've got 870, our target goes to serve 870 children, and we're about halfway there right now. So we're really having a big push. So anyone that's in this industry has employees from there, please send them to us. We've got the funding available.
We will do that.
Okay,
That's
awesome.
fantastic.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your
Yes,
time.
sir.
I
Thank
appreciate
you.
having you back on the podcast. This is always so informative, and some really great information for prospective employees and prospective employers alike out there. So we appreciate your time. And we want to thank you so much for listening to the podcast again this week. We truly appreciate your support. And if you want to watch the video version of this podcast, you can catch that on the Chamber YouTube page and on the Chamber Facebook page. Thank you so much, and we will see you next week.